Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, September 30th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The Reparations movement received a further push on Monday by Minister of Foreign Affairs Camilo Gonçalves to the United Nations General Assembly. According to Gonçalves, it is appropriate that the UN presides over the launch of the International Decade of People of African Descent, being held under the theme Recognition, Justice and Development. Gonçalves said one element of the declaration is the advancement of the claims put forward by SVG for reparatory justice, noting that over the past year, CARICOM heads have unanimously approved a series of policies aimed at creating awareness amongst the people of the region.
The level of priority that CARICOM governments accord to the issue of reparatory justice cannot be overstated. At the historical root of our region's many developmental impediments is an enduring legacy of slavery that has been the unchanging millstone that we have been forced to carry uphill for generations. We seek the support of the international community in furthering our just and timely cause.
Meanwhile, Gonçalves also made a call for an end to embargoes which have been imposed on Cuba. Gonçalves told those gathered at the UN General Assembly that nowhere was there manipulation as obvious as in the false designation of Cuba by the United States that it is a state sponsor of terrorism. According to the Foreign Affairs Minister, Cuba instead has been a victim of state terrorism and a collaborator in the fight against terrorism.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines reiterates the call of the overwhelming majority of states for an immediate end to the illegal economic, commercial and financial embargo against Cuba. The external projection of political self-interest is not a sovereign exercise, but a retrograde and anachronistic attack on the very principles that undergird this institution. The United States is a far greater nation than this petty, punitive and illegal embargo suggests. We encourage it to demonstrate the courage to cast aside this Cold War relic.
Meanwhile, with all attention of the world's superpowers focused on the ongoing battle against the extremist group ISIS, Gonçalves pledged SVG's support in genuine efforts to get rid of extremist groups who operate without regard for sovereignty.
The terrorists' disregard of national borders and sovereignty is no excuse for us to do the same. We must not stoop to their level in neglecting the bedrock principles of peaceful coexistence of nations. Nor must we ever repeat the mistake of believing that terrorism is a force that can be harnessed or supported to further some greater political objective. St. Vincent and the Grenadines cannot accept that the difference between noble rebel and evil terrorist can hinge on something as arbitrary as which side of a border they decide to perform their rapes, beheadings, and bombings. We unequivocally support genuine efforts targeted at eliminating this scourge, and we call for global solidarity and international cooperation in this urgent cause.
Former Minister of Housing Julian Francis has disputed claims that the government wrongfully obtained the lands of the Clair Valley Housing project. Francis chided some members of the local media whom he accused of failing to double-check information and reports on the housing project. This, he says, has resulted in fear being instilled in the minds of the 58 homeowners of the project.
If government don't have title, you all can have title. But every single one in title was accepted by the man. And every man has a different lawyer doing the deed than the government lawyer. Not the Attorney General doing the deed, zero. If you go by NCB lawyers writing the deed. Sorry. I still claim it as the National Bank of Civils. That's what I meant, National Bank of Civils. But I just want to establish that. There were some landowners there who up until today cannot produce title deeds for the lands that they say they own. Now remember, these lands go back generations. So what the government did, those who have land title deeds, they came in and Housing and Land Development Corporation paid them between $50,000 and $55,000 per acre. And that part of it sound.
Francis assures the concerned homeowners that they should have no fear as their title deeds are clear and authentic.
We paid for those lands, and for those who didn't have title deed, there is a law on the books of the country that allows the government to acquire. And if you own the land, but you don't have a title deed, we go put 2 notices in the papers that we have acquired the lands automatically is transferred to the government. The value that is placed on it is held for you until you can produce your title deed. When you produce your title deed, you get paid for it. So all those lands are the government don't know. Either pay cash for them or by acquisition. So your title is clear. You get a title deed for Housing and Land Development Corporation, your bank ticket, no matter what the media tell you and what Sam tell you.
According to Francis, the cost of the most recent work carried out on the Clair Valley Housing project is in excess of 10 million EC dollars for the 58 homes. Some tile workers who carried out work on houses at the Clair Valley Housing project will not be considered for work in the future from the Housing and Land Development Corporation. At last Saturday's town hall meeting hosted by the Clair Valley residents, it was pointed out that there was a consistent string of complaints from the residents of poor tile work and tiles popping off their floors and bathroom walls. Minister of State Julian Francis says the workmen who give mediocre work on the project will be blacklisted.
I went into next to Sean. And when he showed me his tiles, I called Beresford immediately. I said, Beresford, please get me the list of all the tile owners, the tile workers who worked on Clair Valley. Those who did not give us proper workmanship will be blacklisted. Because I cannot take these tile men and put them to repair your house. Because the same thing will happen. Look at that. Look at that. No, stay right. That tells you that there are blocks of things set under that much. Look at the air spaces. I hear a lady say when she taps, she hears it hollow. Once you hear a tile hollow, they put it in properly, have air space under it. That is the same guy's house.
Leader of the New Democratic Party, Annie Eustace, has lashed out at Deputy Director of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, Nigel Scott, referring to him as the most reckless of all. Despite the many explanations by the SVG-CC about the current standing of the college's associate degrees, Eustace on Monday maintained the view that the students of the college were left in the dark on the essential truth about the quality and value of their degrees.
It's only after we had the press conference, you see this letter going to the professor to ask them to clarify the policy. A policy in place since 2006, and the ministry don't know what the policy is, and the community college board doesn't know what the policy is. But they talk about people being reckless. They are a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. You have the obligation to the students and the parents of this country whose children are at that college to inform them of what the true situation is. The true situation. Don't fool anybody. Don't give them the impression that the associate degree is what they thought it was, because some of them have been given wrong information by the same college.
Eustace challenged the SVG-CC to make public a list of all students who have been granted acceptance and advanced placement in universities based on their associate degrees.
And I want the college, and I said it last week, to publish a list of all those graduates in all these years who have gone and got time off from the University of West Indies. Give us a list of those who have got it since you're doing associate degrees. We don't want to hear nothing. Give us a list of those who have got it. Then we'll see how many students, in fact, got that time off or got credit for courses they did in the associate degree. That's what I want to see. Facts, not talk.
Meanwhile, Eustace has appealed to the government not to dip into the National Insurance Services to pay September salaries. The opposition leader says concerns have been brought to him by a number of persons about the payment of their salaries being paid on time.
I've been approached by a number of watchmen who have not been paid for some time. And you know, sometime this week, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, salaries to the civil servants have to be paid. But at the same time, I'm hearing that the overdraft for the central government at the bank is above its limit. When I hear those things, I'm concerned about them. I get worried about them as to what it means for people and what it means for the economy. If the government's overdraft limit is in excess of its overdraft limit, how are you really going to pay salaries at a time when revenues are falling? What I want to say to the government this morning, don't go into the NIS to take on no salary should they send them on to you. That's the message I'm bringing this morning. Don't go to the NIS to get money to assist with salaries.
SVG-TV News understands that salaries were paid to public servants 3 days ahead on Friday, September 26th. Minister of Foreign Affairs Camila Gonsalves says the comments made by Sion Marshall were not acceptable, but he is qualified for the position of Deputy Consul General in the New York Consulate. Gonsalves made a comment while addressing Vincentians in the United States last Saturday. According to Gonsalves, Marshall knew he was being considered for the position and spoke as a politician rather than a diplomat.
He spoke. He was being a politician because he is not yet a diplomat. He has not yet signed a contract. It has not yet been complete in the processes. But he was aware that he was being considered. So he should have put a gun on his mouth. And he should have moved from the political Sion to the diplomat Sion. He's a very intelligent man. He's very qualified. He's very energetic. He's very bright. But he made a mistake.
Gonsalves further states that in the same way he was forgiven of leader of the opposition, Aniem Eustace, who he believed erred when he said that the government had entered an austerity agreement with the IMF, so too he should be able to forgive young Marshall.
Willing to give the honorable leader of the opposition, an economist of 70 years old, the benefit of the doubt when he's talking about the economy, which is something he's supposed to know. Surely I should be able to give a young man who has never served 1 day as a diplomat the benefit of the doubt when he made a mistake. This Sion came on the radio and he apologized fully and forthrightly. I don't know how many of you heard the apology, but he apologized fully. I believe that Sion will serve this diaspora and our country very well. That's what.
No community on mainland St. Vincent will be unaffected in the event of a volcanic eruption. That's according to Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Howie Prince, speaking at the opening of a workshop looking at the updated National Volcano Emergency Plan.
We would seek to obtain from you clarifications and agreements on your roles and responsibilities, and we would seek to provide orientation on procedures that are necessary for transportation of persons if there is to be a volcanic eruption, procedures on alert and warning, procedures on emergency telecommunication, procedures related to evacuation, and the coordination of all of these activities should there be a volcanic eruption.
Prince pointed out that over the last few days, quite a number of persons have been asking if the La Soufrière volcano was erupting, as they have been noticing a lot of activities by NEMO. Prince pointed out that though the volcano remains an active one, there is no immediate threat of an eruption at this time.
But that volcano in Japan is erupting. What was most important to me from the news that I saw from that erupting volcano in Japan is that that volcano had moved from being what they refer to as a level 1 alert, meaning the lowest alert possible, to a level 3 alert. Suddenly, La Soufrière volcano did a very similar thing in 1979. It moved from ordinary level to erupting in a very short space of time. So it begs the question, can this happen again? I am sure that Dr. Robertson, who will speak a little bit later, will assure us that it can happen again.
Meanwhile, Director General of the local Red Cross, Bernard Maxman, said over the past 10 months, they have been working closely with the communities of Chumaka and Sandy Bay, making sure they are aware of what ought to happen in the event of an eruption.
How do we get from place to place? How do we get from Chumaka to safe zones? How do we get from Fitzhughes to the safer zones? How do we get from Fancy to the safer zones? These are the things that we need to look at. And I can't help reiterating the point that Mr. Prince would have made, because they're salient issues. In 1979, for those of us who can remember, it was a mad rush and scramble, simply because early warning systems, even though they were in place, were not as efficient as we have them today. And with the Seismic Resource Center at our beck and call, we are much better placed. So therefore, we ourselves must be in a much better position to understand the warnings and to ensure that things are done in an orderly fashion.
Maxman noted that times are too modern for persons not to be more coordinated in the event of an eruption. $10,000 was today donated to the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, by Eleanor Macmillan on behalf of a Canadian group. Macmillan noted that the money was raised to assist persons affected by the December 2013 floods. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Godfrey Pompey, received the check on behalf of NEMO and thanked the persons involved in the donation.
Say thanks to Ms. Macmillan for facilitating the handing over of this fat check, $10,000 on behalf of the Toronto group, but the name on it is NEMO. So, but as PS, I am the direct beneficiary because of the fact that presently we have 100 plus individuals still in shelters, and about 3 weeks ago when we had that flooding, we had to take in a few more. What's the total now generally in the shelter? Yes, so we still have mouths to feed, and the director of NEMO will be looking to me or sending the bills for me to pay, and this amount has come at a very important time.
The month-long celebrations for this country's 35th independence anniversary kicked off today with the preliminary judging in a national public speaking competition at French's House. At a press conference yesterday to outline the various planned activities for the celebration, Chairman of the National Independence Committee, Minister of Tourism and Culture, Cecile Sesmaki, says each year the involvement from organizations and communities has been growing, and he applauded them for their involvement.
And last year we had a record amount of activities on our schedule, and this year, as I understand it, we have a similar number of activities, and which may very well surpass the list that we had last year. It means that when we chose the theme 3 years ago, working together to enhance national pride, and when we insisted that this was indeed a true reflection of what was taking place and that we should maintain the theme year after year instead of trying to come up with a new theme each year. I think that decision was a wise one and something which allows us a perfect platform on which to build each year.
Meanwhile, Maki says due to the month-long independence celebrations, the tourism season will be extended and there is expected to be a further increase of visitors to SVG during this time. He says it is important that local artists grab these opportunities as they become available to develop their craft and maximize the benefits.
A number of other nationalities gracing our shows for longer period, not just for 2, 3, 1 week. We have them now at the 4 medical colleges, and very soon we'll have them coming in from Ecuador from January. That's another 200 persons. Those numbers will double. The Chileans have indicated an interest. The Venezuelans have indicated an interest in learning English as well. And that's a 7-month period. So we'd have more and more nationalities on our shows, and we have to cater for them. When the international airport opens in 2015, we'll have even more nationals coming to our shows. We also have to cater for them. And one of the ways that we have to look at in terms of catering is the whole question of entertainment, of cultural packages, and in doing so, we have to develop what we have locally in terms of capacity. We have to ensure that we provide the cultural artists, the sportsmen and women with that opportunity to get greater exposure and to develop their various talents so that they can be part of the offerings, the packages that we have on offer here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as we continue to develop our tourism product. Because I always make the point that we are known to have the most diverse tourism product in the region, but we must now convert that even further into real activity on the ground that allows us to get to be given that cutting edge in terms of the tourism sector in the region.
Meanwhile, this year's activities will include an Independence Day Lionfish Derby. The event, hosted by the Fisheries Division in collaboration with the National Parks, Rivers and Beaches Authority, is being supported financially by GIZ and CAFA. The Derby, which will be held on Saturday, October 25th, has 2 separate prize categories, one for scuba divers and one for free divers. All teams interested in the competition are asked to attend the briefing and registration meeting at the Fisheries Division on Friday, October 24th from 2 p.m. The winners of the Lime Vinci Mass Viewers' Choice Awards received their prizes today. The hottest soca track and road match award went to Whiskey. Tatiana Lespierre received the Miss SVG 2014 award. Hottest Masquerader was awarded to Caria Arthur. Favorite Masquerader, Keisha De Silva. Hottest Carnival T-shirt band was awarded to Network SVG. And Power Soca and Raga Soca Monarch went to Delroy Fireman Hooper. Representative of the Carnival Development Corporation, CDC, Ezzy Roberts, says the Lime Viewers' Choice Awards give the opportunity to persons to participate in Vinci Mass, though they may have not been physically present at the various shows.
It allows them to have a voice in making a choice. It is in no way contradicting or competing with the judges' decisions. We all know the official judges' decision are final, but we still believe that it is quite fine to have viewers' participation in picking someone in whatever category they choose. We recognize this also as another means of advertising and promoting our events, because as we know, social media frenzy is on, and once you have viewers' choice out there, a person's going to be texting their friend, they're going to be sending the information through whichever social media aspect of their choice that they so choose to, and that in itself would help to drive interest in the various events.
Representative of Stir Media Calvert Jones says the introduction of the Viewers' Choice Awards is an added boost to Vinci Mass.
Now, Lime not only being the multi-platinum sponsor, the super platinum sponsor, of CDC Vinci Mass, which, by the way, is one of the most anticipated cultural shows of the island. It's the main economic driver. if you know what happens around Carnival, there's a bunch of activity, a lot of sales going on, whether it be t-shirts, the trays, the little small businesses get a lot of support around that time. So this is something that drives a lot of economic activity. And we want to especially thank Lime in a special way. This is from Store Media Group for going a lot further in pursuing a digital approach to pushing social media promotions of Vincy Mas in a way that has never been done